been on from the beginning. The pressure is still on today, and the pressure is going to have to stay on, not just in Afghanistan, but elsewhere, because the terrorist networks are spread across the globe. And it is, needless to say, gratifying to see the Taliban fleeing and the people of Afghanistan getting their country back. On the other hand, our task is to find the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban leadership, and we still have that ahead of us.
The Taliban have said they have shot down at least 2 helicopters, which is false. They have not. They have indicated that they have captured some Americans, which is false. They have not. And we have absolutely no evidence at all that would suggest that that allegation that you cited is correct. I'm sure it's not. I think that the release by a person in the government who had access to classified information to the effect that the United States of America was planning and was about to engage in a special operation in Afghanistan clearly was a violation of federal criminal law, and second, it was something that was totally disregard for the lives of the people involved in that operation.
We have seen some operations. We've seen some capabilities that have been front and center in Afghanistan. I don't suppose there's a day that goes by that I don't keep track of what your folks are doing in the north of Afghanistan, are doing in the south of Afghanistan, and it gives me just enormous pride to be able to say to each of you how much respect that we all have for you and for what you do. Well, the president's policy is dead or alive, and you know, I have my preference, but that's not a government position. That's a personal position. Yeah. Well, first of all, we don't know if he's in a cave. When I get up in the morning, I picture him in a cave. But he may not be in a cave. How can we do it? Well, the answer is it may take some time, and we will have to put forces on the ground that are necessary to enable us to do it. We'll have to get the cooperation of other coalition forces to help us on the ground, and there are some coalition forces on the ground today helping. All over Afghanistan, offering high rewards for people to spend their weekends and evenings on a exciting pursuit, and they are doing that. And there are
but the fact of the matter is, as Secretary Powell knows well, there are still any number of Al-Qaeda loose in that country. That is why we are there. That is why we are chasing them. That is why we are bombing. That is why we are working with Afghan forces to root them out of tunnels and caves. It is true that they're running and hiding and not dominating the country of Afghanistan as they had previously. It is also true that the Taliban is no longer a legitimate government of Afghanistan, if it ever was. It too is in a state of some disarray and is running and hiding. But there are still a lot of Taliban in the country, and they're still armed, and it's going to take time and energy and effort, and people will be killed in the process of trying to find them and capture them or have them surrender. Since we did not know that with precision, and we don't know if he's there now, it would be difficult to answer the question.
Are you saying you don't know where he is?
I am saying that it is a question mark as to his exact location. There are people who continue to speculate that he may be in that area or may have been in that area, or that he may be somewhere else. My feeling is until we catch him, which we will, we won't know precisely where he was when we catch him.
It appears to the people who reported to me that in fact these individuals were not Taliban or Al-Qaeda, number one. Number two, that the suggestion that anyone was mistreated while in captivity is not correct. There is very likely a situation where some of the people resisted being subdued and may have been bruised in that process. Once going in on the ground, it seems to me it is no mistake at all, if you're fired on, to fire back. And we expect people to defend themselves and to take exactly the action that at least at the moment I'm aware they took. Our hope is that the Afghan forces that exist and have prevailed over the Taliban will be the ones who will provide security during this period, and that the International Security Assistance Force would provide it in the Kabul area. Let's go ahead and use them. And how did it work out, all in all? Well, not bad. The Taliban are gone. The Al-Qaeda are on the run. It was done with the rather, I would say, effective use of Afghan forces. I would say rather effective use of coalition forces. And all in all, it seemed to happen rather rapidly and rather successfully. Now, is it possible to say that in the totality of everything that took place, there were some things that in retrospect somebody might do differently? The answer is yes. Nor do I know today of any evidence that he was in Tora Bora at the time, or that he left Tora Bora at the time, or even where he is today. We have seen repeated speculation about his possible location, but it has obviously not been verifiable. Had it been verifiable, one would have thought that someone might have done something about it. We've struck several terrorist training camps. We've damaged most of the airfields, I believe all but one, as well as their anti-aircraft radars and launchers. And with the success of previous raids, we believe we are now able to carry out strikes more or less around the clock, as we wish. We've seen the reports that 4 Afghan men who may have been associated with a contractor dealing with the UN may have been killed. We have no information from the ground to verify this, and we have no information that would let us know whether it was a result of ordnance fired from the air or the ordnance that we've seen fired from the ground on television. Nonetheless, we regret a loss of life. Terrorists attacked and killed thousands of innocent people in dozens of countries of all races and religions in the United States on Tuesday the 11th. Innocent lives are still at risk today and will be until we have dealt with the terrorists.
We don't know what the number is. We know what we're killing and we know what we're capturing. And we know the few that are surrendering. But one cannot know how many people are actually in those caves and tunnels and hiding in the mountains. And we know it's a discovery process. We keep finding more openings all the time. We do believe that it's going to be difficult to get out of there. Not impossible, but difficult. We do have a lot of help on the Pak border. We also have, we know that some of that area is mined. We know that we have some folks watching. And we know there's some folks blocking. And we know there's some folks moving forward. So we're doing about all you can do. All right.
The United States and our coalition partners are committed to helping the Afghan people achieve the noble goal of building this country and a new democracy. The entire world, I believe, has a stake in your success and wishes you well. An election is free and fair is one that I don't make, but in my meetings today with the Joint Commission and those folks from the United Nations, they believe, in their best judgment, people who are experts in this and spend their time assisting nations in having free and fair elections, they believe that Afghanistan is on the path to have a successful, free and fair election. And it strikes me that while no security environment is perfect, well, in any city in the world or in any country in the world, that judgment on their part ought to have some weight. We had a good discussion about the work of the provincial reconstruction team. We had a discussion about the fact that they have both agreed to the program for turning in heavy weapons and the disarmament program. They have already begun walking down that path, and we certainly acknowledged that and encouraged it. We also discussed the possible next steps for NATO, and under discussion are, as I'm sure you have heard, the possibility of NATO's expanding and taking responsibility for some provincial reconstruction teams outside of Kabul. We also raised the issue as to whether at some point NATO, obviously with the United States involved, might take a even larger role with respect to the coalition efforts in the country. The President has said we will continue to assist in a manner that is appropriate so that the Afghan people can set their country on a path towards democracy and freedom and economic opportunity for the people here. And it means no matter what the role NATO might take, the greater the NATO role, very likely the U.S. would be a part. We're a part of NATO. We would be involved in that role. The United States has recently announced some adjustments in our force levels here, from 3 brigades to 2. Of course, the U.S. will be continuing our contribution to NATO, and our level of interest, our level of activity is substantial and continuous. NATO as an organization has made a commitment to Afghanistan. It's a historic commitment. It's the first time that NATO as an organization has undertaken a responsibility outside of Europe and well outside of the NATO treaty area. So they have a stake in the success here in Afghanistan. There's a reason that NATO is involved in Afghanistan, and that this is the 21st century. Problems are not specifically nation-state problems. They're not specifically even regional problems. In many instances, they're global problems. And it requires an alliance like NATO to evolve and adjust and face the challenges that exist in this new century. Attack on our people will be attempted. We can't know where or when or by what technique. That reality drives those of us in government to ask the tough questions. When and how might that attack be attempted, and what will we need to have done today and every day before the attack to prepare for it and to, if possible, prevent it? On September 11th, our world changed. It may be tempting to think that once the crisis is past, that things will go back to the way they were. Not so. The world of September 10th is past. We've entered a new security environment, arguably the most dangerous the world has known. And if we're to continue to live as free people, we cannot go back to thinking as the way the world thought on September 10th, to the Pentagon or the World Trade Center towers. Even if bin Laden had been captured or killed in the weeks before September 11th, no one I know believes that it would necessarily have prevented September 11th. Killing bin Laden would not have removed al-Qaeda's sanctuary in Afghanistan. Moreover, the sleeper cells that flew the aircraft into the World Trade Towers and the Pentagon were already in the United States months before the attack.